Every playoff team dreams of raising the trophy, but in the West, that dream is a legit roller coaster. Injuries, egos, altitude games in Denver, Draymond Green monologues, you name it, out here nothing is guaranteed. And yet, every single team still has a path to the title. Some are believable, and some feel like fan fiction, and a few, well, let's just say it'll take a miracle and maybe a dance with destiny to pull it off. So let's start where chaos loves to live, at the bottom. The Memphis Grizzlies, the Sacramento Kings, Dallas Mavericks, and Phoenix Suns. Now look, we love a good underdog story, but this is like trying to win a marathon with two shoelaces tied together. Now let's be real, this is the kind of season where the play-in feels unnecessary. Why not just skip it and move on? Now, here's where things get fun. These next teams, if they made the finals, I wouldn't even blink, but each one still has a how they can and a why they won't. Now, quick timeout, if you're enjoying the video so far, a like and subscribe would mean a lot to us. This is a pretty new channel, and every bit of support makes a huge difference. Alright, now let's get back to the drama.
Okay.
The Minnesota Timberwolves. How they can win. Anthony Edwards. If Ant goes from superstar to face of the league in real time, it changes everything. His two-way play, swagger, and fearlessness makes him the kind of leader who can win you playoff games by sheer force of will. However, this is why they won't, and that's Julius Randle. Wait, what? Yeah, exactly, because if Minnesota struggles, it's not going to be Ant, it'll be decision-making under pressure, and that's where Julius Randle sits. Late game half-court execution and one or two players forgetting how to play team basketball in the biggest moments, we've seen this from Randle in the past.
Yeah, boy.
The LA Clippers. How they can win. 2019 Kawhi Leonard is still somewhere in there, right? Because if that guy shows up, even just for the playoffs, the Clippers become terrifying. Kawhi at his peak makes everything click. Harden becomes your playmaker. The supporting cast becomes elite because the roles make sense. When it works, it really, really works. However, this is why they won't, and that's because we haven't seen 2019 Kawhi in half a decade. Injuries, load management, and weird playoff luck have haunted this team for years. If Kawhi can stay healthy, or if that extra gear is just gone, then the Clippers are once again a team that looks great in theory, but disappears when it matters.
You can do it!
Denver Nuggets. How they can win? Well, let's not overthink this. They have Nikola Jokic, and that alone is enough to keep you up at night. But the real key is the supporting cast. If Jamal Murray is healthy and firing like 2023 playoff Murray, Aaron Gordon dunking with a vengeance, and Michael Porter Jr. starts looking like a 6'10 prime Klay Thompson, this becomes the most balanced team in the league. When they're in sync, the ball moves, the spacing is perfect, and Jokic looks like a point guard trapped in a center's body. It's terrifying. Why they won't is because that version of the Nuggets doesn't always show up. Murray's health is always a mystery, Gordon disappears some nights, and MPJ still hasn't taken that next step. And as great as Jokic is, 30-point triple-doubles only take you so far when the others are off. He can't be everything every night.
Nice.
The Golden State Warriors. How they can win is two words: playoff Jimmy. Add him to a team with Stephen Curry, the most gravity-warping player in NBA history, and suddenly, the Warriors don't just have hope, they have a blueprint. Draymond anchors the defense, Kuminga and Podziemski are thriving at the perfect time, and with Jimmy handling mid-game offense, Curry's legs are fresher in the fourth quarter than they've been in years. That's when he becomes a flamethrower. If Steph can win you 2 games in a series by himself and Jimmy drags you through the other 2 with grit and free throws, that's a scary formula. However, why they won't is because that formula relies on everything clicking and not much margin for error. Their bench is thin, their shooting can be inconsistent, and Steph, for all his greatness, is still human. If Jimmy doesn't hit another gear or if Draymond gets ejected halfway through Game 3, this Cinderella story might not make it past midnight.
Oh my god! Wow!
The LA Lakers. How they can win? Well, let's just say this team can score. With LeBron James, Luka Doncic, and arguably the best third option in the league, Austin Reeves, that could drop 25 a night on a dozen other teams. Their offense isn't the problem. You've got two of the smartest basketball minds in history running the show like it's a chess match, and they've memorized every opening. The real question is, can they play just enough defense to survive? Because when they have, this team's been elite. 1 month post Luka trade, they looked like a mess. The next, a top 5 defense, then bad again, then suddenly elite again. If that trend continues in the right direction, their path to winning might turn into outright dominance, but this is why they won't. Consistency, or more specifically, defensive consistency. The Lakers don't protect the rim, and they almost always have 1 or 2 guys on the floor who opposing teams circle with a red marker and say, we're going at him every play. LeBron, Luka, and Austin Reeves can cook you on offense, but can they survive 4 playoff rounds without getting exposed on D? Well, that's the $1 million question. Or maybe the million view question, because if they do figure that part out, we might be in for something scary.
No! God, please, no! No!
The Houston Rockets. How they can win is if defense wins championships, the Rockets are not crazy for thinking they've got a shot. This group is locked in on that end of the floor. Top tier rim protection, insane closeouts, and defensive communication that looks like they're operating on Bluetooth. Watching them defend is like watching synchronized swimming, but with blocks and bruises rather than leg kicks and flutters. If they can keep games ugly, slow things down, and force you into their defensive chaos, that's the blueprint. But why they won't win is because scoring is a problem. Look, I like Fred VanVleet, but if your late game offense is Fred pull up off one leg while falling sideways from 30 feet, you've got issues. Unless Jalen Green suddenly levels up into a scoring machine, Amen Thompson starts running the offense like vintage CP3, or Alperen Şengün takes the next steps into baby Jokic, it's going to get real tough in a playoff series when defenses start zoning in. Elite defense keeps you close, but someone still has to hit the big shots.
Damn!
The Oklahoma City Thunder. How they can win is that they're the youngest team in the playoffs, which might also be the scariest. SGA is basically breaking the game, and the rest of the roster plays like they've been doing this for years. Jalen Williams is a legit number 2, Chet changes everything defensively, and their system, it flows like jazz. Unpredictable, creative, and smooth. If their youth turns out to be a superpower instead of a flaw, OKC could absolutely crash the party early. However, experience is why they won't win. It's not just a cliche. In the playoffs, experience matters. You can feel it in the late game possessions, the missed rotations, the panicked foul, the oh no, why did we just give up a 9-0 run moment. Young teams make mistakes, and in a 7-game series, you don't get many freebies. They've got the talent, they've got the system, but do they have the scars, the reps, the grit that only comes from having your heart broken in May? Maybe not yet. But if this is the year they figure it out early, the league's gonna have a serious problem on its hands. But don't forget, the East has its own kind of chaos. We also broke down how every Eastern Conference playoff team can win the title, and trust me, one of them might shock you. Click over and give it a watch because you'll see what I mean. And if you enjoyed this one, leave a like, hit subscribe, because we're building something great here and your support helps more than you will ever know. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.